Hi everybody, my name is Susie Q and I am the owner and creator of Glitter with Susie Q. Today we're going to be making this Snowglobe Tumbler with a matching pin. This was a gift for my son's kindergarten teacher. I ended up putting a decal with her name on it, and the pin also has her name on it. I did not record that part so that I could keep her privacy, but come and join me to figure out how to make this Snowglobe Tumbler and Pen. I'm going to start off by showing you how I made this Snowglobe Tumbler. What I'm doing here is I am mixing a 1/4 cup of distilled water along with Elmers magical liquid. I like a very thick solution so that the glitter stays suspended in the tumbler for a long time. I don't like when I'm drinking out of my Snowglobe tumblers and before I get finished with my drink, all of the glitter is at the bottom of the Snowglobe tumbler. So I like to make mine a little bit thicker so that the glitter stays suspended while I'm drinking. So that's why I use a 50-50 ratio of 1/4 cup of distilled water and a 1/4 cup of magical liquid. As you can see, I am mixing up the distilled water and the magical liquid just with the measuring cup that I have. When you're stirring it, it's not going to look thick. It's not going to look like there's anything in it. It's going to look very watery. It will not be watery once you put in the glitter. Young kids, so they're constantly sick. I just get these syringes from our local CVS and I use these to fill up my Snowglobe tumblers. I am going to unbox and show you the contents of what comes with these Snowglobe tumblers. You get a lid. You also get plugs that go in the bottom of the snow globe once you're done filling it up. And I also purchase snow globes that are pre-drilled acrylic. I do not like to take the effort of drilling the hole myself. It never comes out great. It's always just a bigger headache than it's worth. So I just decided to go ahead and buy the pre-drilled acrylic snow globe tumblers. All I am going to do now is I am going to take the syringe and I am going to fill it up with the solution that I made, and I'm going to fill up this syringe and squirt it into the cup into that hole. I'm going to put 2 full syringes into my cup before I start adding the glitter. The reason why I'm doing this is so that when I put my glitter in, all of my glitter doesn't get stuck down at the bottom, I guess it'd be the top of the cup. So I'm going to use this glitter called Joker by Chimp. Unfortunately, Chimp has decided to close their doors and not sell glitter anymore. And so I will not be linking the glitter down below, but I wanted to show you what glitter I was using. After I put the 2 syringefuls in, I just dump some of the glitter onto the top of the cup, and I use my picker tool to just shove it into the hole. As you guys can see, the static cling was incredible the night that I did this. Anytime that I poured the the glitter into the cup, it shot out everywhere. So as you're making these tumblers, you're gonna notice that they are kind of a mess, but they're really, really worth making them. They end up beautiful, and they're actually a pretty easy gift to make in a very short amount of time. So I'm just taking the glitter that I poured into the top, and I'm just pushing it into the hole that is in the bottom of the acrylic cup. I am shaking the glitter down to the bottom of the cup so that I can go ahead and add another cap full or another top full of this glitter. I follow the same process again using that picker tool in order to push it into the hole. I also use my finger. It just kind of depends on what's easier in that moment and how much static cling is happening. Just use your best judgment, and however you get the glitter into the hole is how you do it. There's nothing special that you need to do in order to get the glitter into the hole. Now that I have what I think is enough glitter in my snow globe tumbler, I'm going to bring my solution back over, and I'm just going to use that syringe to push more of the liquid into my snow globe tumbler. I'm going to fill it up probably about halfway until I look at it and see if I'm happy with how much glitter is in the snow globe. As you can see, I felt like I needed just a little bit more, so I dumped another chunk of glitter onto the top of the snow globe, and I'm pushing it in the exact same way that I did before. At this point, I'm satisfied with how much glitter I've added, so I'm now just going to take my syringe and I'm going to fill up the rest of my snow globe tumbler all the way to the top, or as full as I possibly can, with the solution that I've mixed up. Here in a minute, you're going to see that the liquid gets to the top of the snow globe. I fully intended on purchasing smaller gauged syringes in order to be able to show you a better process on how to fill up and get as much of the air out of the cup as possible, but I didn't end up buying the syringes that make that process a lot easier. So in the future, I'm going to do another snow globe tumbler, and by that point, I will have the correct syringes to show you the easiest way in order to fill up your snow globe with the maximum amount of liquid so that you don't have a huge bubble traveling around your snow globe tumbler. A small bubble is required though in order for your glitter to have movement, And in order for temperature change not to crack or break your acrylic tumbler. So just make sure that you are leaving a small bubble about a dime size and so that your glitter will be able to move around the snow globe once you shake it. At this point, I feel like I have gotten as much as I possibly can of the liquid inside of the tumbler. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just set my tumbler aside for the night. I'm going to clean off the top really well. I want to make sure that none of the solution is sitting on top of the cup. So I'm going to clean it off really well. And then I'm just going to leave it and let it sit overnight to degas, so that maybe more air can rise to the top and I'll be able to put a little bit more solution in it tomorrow. It is finally at this point that I realize there is no more solution that's going to be able to fit into my snow globe. So I am going to clean off the top of my snow globe so that no residue ends up building up on it overnight as I let it degas. A glitter vacuum that I purchased from Hobby Lobby to clean up the mess that I've made with that static electricity. Glitter was everywhere, so I wanted to make sure that I cleaned up my space so that glitter didn't contaminate other projects that I've been working on. So I just used this glitter vacuum and suck up all that glitter and then let my cup degas overnight. It is now the next day, and I am looking and seeing if I could possibly add any more solution to the snow globe, and I really don't think that I could. I think here in a moment I try to add more and it just comes straight out of the hole. So I know that that's all of the solution that I am going to be able to fit into this snow globe. So I'm doing a really good job cleaning off the top of my snow globe with 91% isopropyl alcohol and a cotton swab. I'm doing this in order to make sure that I'm able to get a really good seal so that my snow globe doesn't leak. I am going to take the plug that was provided for me in the package, and I'm going to put it in the hole of the snow globe tumbler and make it so that it can no longer leak. take UV resin and put a little drop around that plug and seal it with my UV light in order for that solution not to be able to leak. Like I did say at the beginning, this was a gift for my son's teacher, and I ended up taking more steps than what I'm showing you now. After I got done curing the plug with the UV light, I put a decal with her name on it, and so I wanted to make sure that decal wasn't going to come off, so I put some layers of epoxy on this, and that also helped seal the plug in so that no solution would be able to come out. And as you can see, I'm shaking it up, and look how beautiful it is. It is filled with glitter. It is gorgeous. I love the colors, the teals, the purples, the whites. They're absolutely beautiful, and the decal that went with it absolutely matched it perfectly. I am so in love with this cup, and I might actually have to make myself one because the colors are just absolutely gorgeous. Here we are moving on to the pin that I made her as well. For Mother's Day, I believe my husband bought me this really cool set for making pins. It comes with a orange piece that goes in on a dowel rod, and that's where you shove the point of the pin part onto the dowel rod. Then you put that green part on where the clicker piece goes, and this makes it, they're silicone pieces, so this makes it so that the epoxy has a harder time getting into those areas, and you have less cleanup that you have to do. The pin that I'm using today is an Inkjoy gel pen, and what I am doing is I am taking this pen apart in order for me to be able to put the glitter and epoxy on it. It is really important that you do not lose any of the pieces. If you lose any of the pieces, the pen, you're gonna have to take other pieces from a pen. So just make sure that you keep it where you know it is. Here I'm breaking off that little pin clip, and I'm going to use some old jewelry pliers in order to get the rest of the pin clip off. When I snapped this pin clip, it flew across my craft room. So please make sure that you are either wearing safety protective goggles or that you use your hand in order to cover up the piece like I'm doing now, so that that piece doesn't potentially fly into your eye. I am pulling off that little piece that was remaining, and I am going to just throw that in the trash can. Once I'm done getting it off as much as I possibly can, I'm going to take my 120 grit sanding block, and I'm just going to do a very, very light sand on this pen. I'm just scuffing it up in order for the epoxy and the glitter to adhere to something, and I will actually spray paint it first. So in order for the spray paint to stick to the pen, I'm just going to do a real light scrub with my sanding block. I'm trying to get off any of the markings that's on it. It really actually doesn't matter. Since I spray paint the pen, you won't be able to see any of the markings that are on the pen anyways. taking my 91% isopropyl alcohol and a cotton swab, and I'm just going to go ahead and clean off that pen, getting all that sanding debris off of it in order for the spray paint to adhere to the pen and not wick away on with the dust and debris that's on the pen. I'm now putting those silicone plugs into the pen so that I can take this outside and do a real quick spray paint with it. I am using that dowel rod so that I don't get spray paint all over my hands when I am spray painting, and in order for me to let it dry properly. This is a really small pen, so it does not take much spray paint to cover it all. I'm just going to do a really quick once or twice over around the pen, doing real small bursts in order for my spray paint not to drip down the side of my pen. When I bring my pen back inside, I go ahead and I put it on the pin clip in order for it not to just be resting on a sheet of paper. I am taking this Arteza purple paint with a very fluffy brush, and I'm going to then paint my pen purple to match the glitter color that I am going to use. I'm just going to take a relatively small amount of paint, and I'm going to use that fluffy brush to spread it all around the pen. Let this pen sit and dry for 10 or 15 minutes. It really didn't take too long for this pen to dry, but I'm going to let it fully dry before I go into my next coat of glitter glue and paint. I am taking it and I am putting it back into this holder, and what I'm going to do whenever this holder has the pin in it, the pin is a little top heavy, so I use a piece of tape in order to tape down the dowel rod so that the pin stays off the paper and you don't get your pin stuck to your paper. Now that I am ready to do my next step, I am going to take a little squeeze of the Arteza purple paint that I used before and my Crystal-Lac glitter glue. I am going to put a dab of paint on this sheet of paper, and then I am going to spray some of the Crystal-Lac glitter glue on top of it and mix it together. I made a pretty big mistake by using a fluffy brush again. I really wish that I had used a different brush in order to spread the paint and glitter glue this time. The reason is once I started spreading the glue on top of the pen, I realized that I wasn't getting the best of coverage with the paintbrush that I used. I thought that I had gotten great coverage with the second layer of glitter glue and paint, but I did not. So I ended up having to do another layer of glitter glue and glitter. I am just sprinkling this beautiful, again, glitter chimp glitter on the pen, and this glitter is called Grape, but also, again, Glitter Chimp has decided no longer to sell glitter anymore, so I will not be linking this in the description notes. Unfortunately, probably 98% of my glitter is from Glitter Chimp, so I'm gonna have to find another place to source glitter from. So if you have a really good place that you love to buy your glitter from, please let me know so that I can find a new place that other people love. Right now I'm just trying to show you how that coverage did not go very well with the brush that I used. So I am going to, at this point, I've decided that I am going to have to do another layer of glitter glue. So I let that completely dry. The downside of using glitter glue is that it does take 2 hours to dry. So I waited that 2 hours, and here I am gonna take the Crystalac glitter glue again, and I am going to spread a generous amount because I did not want to miss any spot on this pen again. So I'm going to take a generous amount of this Crystalac glitter glue, and this time I'm using a different brush. I'm not going to use that fluffy brush, and I am going to spread the glitter glue all around the pen. Once I have spread the glitter glue all around the pen, I will then sprinkle that Grape Expectations all over the pen again in order for me to get better coverage. As you can see, I've gotten a much better coat of glitter on it this time. So I am going to let this also sit and cure for another 2 hours since I use that Crystal-Lac glitter glue. I am going to save my glitter and put it back into the bottle. Let it sit and dry for 2 hours. I'm going to go in with another layer of the Crystal-Lac glitter glue, and I'm going to seal in the glitter that I'm using. In hindsight, I really didn't need to do this. I wasn't worried about my glitter traveling because it's only one glitter on there. So you can skip this step if you wanted to. I really don't know what I was thinking. I didn't need to seal this, but I went ahead and I did it anyways. And so once I got done spreading that glitter glue on there again, you guessed it, I waited another 2 hours in order for this glitter glue to dry. Once it was dry, I then was able to start with my layers of epoxy. I am taking one of the arms for my tumbler spinner, and I am just going to tape the pin to one of the arms. You need to make sure that you're being careful though how you tape your pin to the arm of your tumbler spinner. If you tape it too close to the pipe, you're not going to be able to get the epoxy all the way down to the bottom of the pin like what you need to. So as you can see, I just moved my pin up another inch or two in order to make sure that I had the clearance in order to get my finger all the way around that pin in order to put the epoxy on. So I am taking a very, very small amount of epoxy. I want to say that I mixed up 5 milliliters of epoxy because that's the smallest amount of epoxy that I can mix up, and it was still too much. I ended up probably tossing 4 milliliters of epoxy. When you're working on pins like this, it would be my recommendation to either have more than one pin that you're working on, or to have cups that you're working on and use epoxy for both projects at the same time, or else you really are going to waste a lot of epoxy. This was the only project that I was working on in this moment though, so I really just needed to knock it out and mix the smallest amount of epoxy and just end up throwing away the rest that I didn't use. Then the tumbler is going to spin, and I am letting it cure. I think I let this spin overnight, and here you can see that I am going ahead and I'm blowing out the potential bubbles that are trapped in the epoxy. Once I am done blowing out the bubbles, that's when I let it spin overnight, and I just let it go. I probably let it spin for 4 to 6 hours. Here I am taking the pin off of the contraption, and you can see that there is a lot of epoxy that has kind of seeped over onto those silicone pieces. I'm going to take my craft knife very carefully, and I am going to scrape the edges of this pin in order to get the epoxy off of the top and bottom part of the pin. If you don't do a good job cleaning off your pen, it is going to make it much harder for the pieces to go back together and for it to work properly. I always like to take my pen and clean it in between each layer of epoxy. So here you can see I don't have a very smooth finish, so I'm going to sand the pen, the top rim, the bottom rim, and I'm going to sand the body of the pen as well, so that the next epoxy layer that I have can be my last layer. Set my pen up on my epoxy or on my tumbler turner the same way that I did before. Again, I'm mixing up the smallest amount of epoxy that I possibly can, and I ended up throwing away most of it again. And so I am just spreading this epoxy around this pen once again, and after I am done putting the epoxy on, I will blow out the bubbles in my epoxy that could be on my pen. For the purposes of this tutorial, this is the last layer of epoxy that I did. Again, I added my son's teacher's name to this, so this ended up not being the actual last layer of epoxy that I did, but for this tutorial it will be. You can see that there again was some epoxy that had seeped over the side of the pen, and that's why I use those silicone stoppers. In order for it to not go inside the pen, it just stops on the outside, and I'm very easily able to take my craft knife and run it around the edge of the pen and kind of scrape out the epoxy, if any got inside the pen. But very rarely does anything get inside the pen, and if it does, it's pretty easy to pop out because there isn't much in there. I'll do that to the top and bottom part of my pen. Please be very careful when you're doing this. These craft knives are incredibly sharp, and make sure that you are taking safety precautions and you are not cutting your epoxy off too close to your hand. The last step of making a pin is putting it back together. I am going to put it back together, and then I'm going to test the pin to make sure that it works correctly. So I'm putting all the pieces back together, and I'm trying to push the clicker, and it will not retract. So that tells me that there's still epoxy somewhere in or on the pin to making it not function correctly. So I'm just going to take my craft knife again, and I'm just going to go back into the center of that pin and try to scrape out any residue and any epoxy that might be in there. I feel like I've done a better job at it now, so I'm going to go ahead and put the pin back together. And as you can see, this time it is clicking, it is working, and there's your pin. This set was so much fun to make. I really enjoyed working with the Snowglobe tumbler and the pin. I know this was a longer tutorial, but you got to see me make 2 crafts this time as opposed to 1. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe so that you can see more content like this. Also connect with me on Facebook and on Instagram. You can also send me an email if you need to. Thank you. Bye.